Welcome back, everyone, to another Slab Stocks YouTube Monday live stream at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is Aaron, your host, normally joined by Nate, but Nate is making some food at a camp for kids right now, and I heard he almost cut his finger off already. So, Nate, not off to a good start at camp. But we have Dave here from Dave's Cards. I don't think that Dave himself made it into our Wisconsin Dells video, but I know you all saw his Spider-Man PMG because that was in the video. So, Dave you still own it, right?
Yep. Still got it. In fact, I raised the price on it this last week to something ungodly just because of the golden auctions on Spider-Mans, and Marvel PMGs are starting to get a lot of talk.
I saw that the all-time Marvel sale happened, right? The green one, the green PMG.
The green one. Yeah, I think after buyer's premium it was like 38,000 or something like that.
What's that one numbered out of?
That one's out of 10. And the fun fact on that one is that's the only Spider-Man PSA 10. It was a VGS 9 that sold, but the dude didn't like the PSA case because it slid around a little bit. He cracked it and got a VGS 9. So there are no 10s for the PMGs, even though the Pop shows one.
That's crazy. So you knew it was like the same serial numbering then?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the dude that sold it even has it on his Instagram. This was a 10. I cracked it out. I got a BGS 9.
So your PSA 9 is looking pretty good right now then, is what you're saying.
I'm loving it. Yeah.
I also like the red way more too.
Oh yeah, that red on red, it's awesome. You got Venom coming out. You got Spider-Man coming out at the end of the year. It's a good year for Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's good stuff. No question about it. But today we are not going to sit here and talk about PMGs the whole day, although I wouldn't mind it. But we will be talking about expectations from when PSA returns on July 1st. We will dig into that. We will dig into some other topics as well today. So as always, as we talk about these topics, throw in your thoughts in the comments. Welcome everyone. I see a couple of y'all in here already. I appreciate y'all joining. And as you can see, that is Nate with Dave Cards' logo on it. Make sure to follow him on Instagram at Dave's Cards 32. Dave's Cards, right? Not Dave Cards 32? Dave's Cards?
Right, Dave's Cards, yep.
All right, Dave's Cards 32. So to start it off, this was a post we put up on Instagram over the weekend. And it's taking perspective on how the industry has changed so much over the last year and a half, because we've had a lot of discussions about PSA grading. And for the longest time, your base rookie PSA 10 of an emerging young player, there's no way you're getting that for under $50. All of them, if they're baseball, they're like 50 plus. If they're basketball, they're like 200 plus, 150 plus dollars. But now we're getting into this point now to where pops are adjusting as more people get their submissions back from PSA, and these prices are going down on the base cards, PSA graded. Now, there's a fun thought here that we can finally return to having budget investing an option, because in the past, if you want to buy in a budget, you generally had to buy a non-graded base card and hope to send it to PSA and wait a year to then turn it into like a $70 card. At this point now, we can maybe see cards actually available for cheap. Every card in the image y'all see right now, the Simmons, Kyle Lewis, Jackson, Cam Reddish, and Bo Bichette, are all under $25 currently on eBay. That's what the last auctions were selling for at the time of the post on Saturday. So, Dave, the question is do we actually see a way that we can welcome in more buyers in the industry now with this dip that can buy slabs for $10 to $25, hoping that with their budget, they can go from 10 to 25 to, 30 to 35, 45, somewhere in that range, because gains were not 5X forever in the industry. And people got this expectation in their mind that happens, but now we need to kind of pull it back a bit.
Yeah, and most definitely. And what this reminds me a lot of when I first got back into cards, late 2017, early 2018, where when you graded a card, it was, if you got a 9, it was basically the raw cost plus your grading fees. So like there was no premium on 9s. And while everybody back then still wanted a 10, it was great for collecting. It was great for starting. It was great for learning. It was a cheap way to learn. Hey, I got this $20 9. Why did that get a 9? I thought it was a 10. So I think it allows people to build knowledge. And then it also lets you kind of buy and sell and ride hot waves, because looking at the screen, right? Let's say Kyle Lewis starts going off. I know Nate loves Kyle Lewis, and has a nice stretch where he hits 5 home runs in a week or 10 days. That's very quickly going to go from 20 to 40. And if you sell it on Instagram where you don't have to deal with eBay fees and stuff, you doubled your money, and you can take that and put it into something else.
Yeah. And I actually think that like I know that a lot of people are potentially getting hurt by buying some of these slabs too high and prices going down. And for those of you in here, if you are those people that bought base PSA 10s, base PSA 9s at way higher prices than they are today, I just want to assure you that's not the end of the world. I know sometimes it does affect you like more than it might affect the next guy who's buying cards. But if that's the case, make sure to take this as a learning lesson that like everything you do in the sports card industry, every mistake you make, you can build on top of it and get better and go forward. I don't want people to leave the industry because they might have gotten caught up in a a hot stretch for Bo Bichette when everyone's buying base PSA 10s for $75, $80. And now, they're down to, I don't know how much they are as 10s, but maybe like 40, 45, right? Yeah. And I think that this provides more people the opportunity to buy cards, because when you start to talk about the most basic version of a card that people actually like to see, like how many people want to go buy a, base PSA 10 Bowman's Best of Bo Bichette? Like, not a lot of people want to do that, but people want a series one, right? Like to give the people the ability to buy that for $25 or under in a PSA case, I think it's wonderful. I think it prompts more kids again in the industry. I think it prompts more lower level collectors again in the industry who might have like been so discouraged by like the most basic of cool things is worth like $100 or more. So that's good to see, I think, and I'm a fan of that. Now, there's another talking point that comes out of this, and it is the inevitable, what do we do with our non-graded base cards now? Because like once you start to see these slab prices are $25 and under on all these cards on the screen, there's zero path to grading a Kyle Lewis base card with PSA ever again, in my mind. There's no path. And that goes for every card on the screen plus a million other cards now that people used to be sending in. And at the same point, it really affects the people that sent in these cards in September, October, expecting to have them back right away. Then now we're going to get submissions back that are worth like, 80% less of the value than what they're expecting. So I think the next discussion, it transitions us into talking about what the heck does PSA look like going forward? Is there ever a path to buy non-graded that's, $5 and under to grade? And Dave, just give me your thoughts, like initial thoughts on the return of the tiered submissions. What's going to come back first? What's going to matter the most to collectors of PSA grading?
Yeah, so if you've been watching the turnaround times, and if folks have submissions in with PSA, you can see they're starting to churn through stuff. And so all these people that they've been training, they've kind of come out of that inefficiencies of training, which takes a long time, especially to get people proficient. And now they're starting to see some of the benefits of it. I've gotten a couple subs back over the course of the last month or so, and they've ranged from being checked in August to now I got one coming back that was checked in late October. So they're making progress. They're not going to open up everything July 1st. That'd be really silly. I think you probably see Express coming back July 1st, right? That's that next tier of money makers other than their Super Express. I think after the National is when you start to see regular. And then you probably have economy coming sometime October, November timeframe. And I was kind of doing some math and prep for this. And I figure right now they're about 7 months behind on bulk orders. And I think once they get to about 3 or 4 months of backlog on bulk, then they'll open up economy. And then when they feel like they're about 1 to 2 months away from being caught up on bulk, then they'll open up that value or that bulk back up. And that in my estimation probably won't be till January or February of next year.
Got you. So it's going to be a process for those that are wondering, when's it going to be possible to grade at a cheaper level with PSA. Jem Minker pointed out earlier in the stream, I thought PSA is reintroducing pricing in a tiered approach. So next month we'll only open one option, though, $150 processing. That would be the Express that Dave just called out. So yes, Jem Minker on the exact same page with what Dave just said. And I know what Rob agreed with as well, is that we, July 1, we would foresee that $150 grading comes back. And to be honest, like, how many more cards does that open up to be available to grade than the 300 level? Like, in my opinion, like, at least with what I was doing, I sent in 2 Express submissions or Super Express submissions at $300 during this, suspension of grading. And generally I had to guarantee myself I'd get a 10 on like a $300 soccer card to send it in. And if it was like 500 plus, I'd take the risk that I might get a 9, because I think it'd be worth it to add some value by a 9 and then also have the chance at a 10. I'd be hard pressed to believe that it'd open up like a whole lot more cards to be submitted at $150. Like, yes, it gives you the ability to maybe send in then, $200 cards and stuff like that, which could work out if you're very confident and everything. But I'm interested to see what like opening up $150 grading would do to the current turnaround times, because I will tell you this, my first Super Express submission, it took 2 weeks from the time I sent it out to the time I got it back. My second one took 4 or 5 days, like very fast. Now I did pay for next day shipping, like I think both times. So like very quick shipping, but from the time it got to PSA and checked in, it was like less than 24 hours. And then there's 3 days of grade ins already being shipped back to me. So like they are very fast at Super Express right now. Like they figured out the process. Now I will say this, Dave mentioned earlier about new graders going through training, kind of getting the training wheels off and hitting the ground running. Now you see a bunch of cards coming back. I know Dave has a lot of thoughts on this, but I was very surprised in my last Super Express submission. There were 3 cards I got 8s that 2 opinions, myself and someone else, thought it was a 10. So I could not believe that they were 8s. I'm like, 9s, okay, fine. Someone has, thinks something differently, or they see one small thing, or they just want to, whatever, give it a 9, whatever. But 8s, like, there's no way that me and someone else say that card's a 10, and then I get an 8 back. And Dave, what's your thoughts on the whole new person grading thing? Trying to control the pop reports, trying to make grades lower for certain cards versus other cards. Like, any thoughts, just let it rip.
Yeah, so I could go for an hour on this, but I'll try to keep it short.
Okay.
Especially with somebody that has an operations and manufacturing background, that has done massive scale up of training in the past. I don't think they're grading tougher. Nat Turner has said in interviews they're not grading tougher. I think it's 3 things. One, and the first reason why they're not grading tougher is grading is subjective. They don't have anything that they release that's, hey, this is what we measure for corners, or this is how big of a surface scratch that you can have. So to just go in and tell somebody, hey, grade tougher, well, what does that mean? How do you measure that? How do you measure success against that? Mm-hmm. The second thing with grading tougher is, trainees are now on their own. You probably have folks, just like if anybody that starts a new job, you kind of want to go out there and prove yourself, right? Like if you're the new person and you're giving out all 10s, you're probably going to have some conversations of, all right, is this person really ready? And so a lot of times people swing the pendulum and go the other way and go super conservative until they get more comfortable and get more confident. And then they kind of find that middle ground. And when you have this consistent experienced graders coming, and you have orders, like I've had orders where it's really good gem rates. I've seen other orders, really good gem rates. And then the one variable you change is the number of new trainees that you have grading. And then you start to see all this variability that's coming back from orders. I think that's really what it is the new trainees.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a standard switch, like, big email blast to all graders, like, hey, grade tougher. It's more just like the nature of the beast, bringing in new people, less experience. Now, the next question would be, who are they putting on what orders? Because I want to know, why would you put a new trainee on a $300 order with, 8 or 10 cards, whatever, that equals $3,000? Like, that's right. The confusing part, I think. Right.
And when I say new trainee, like, I think of it more of like somebody that's newly certified to the process,
Right.
I'm assuming their grading process or their training process takes probably 3 to 4 months. Like, I'm sure they spend weeks on, hey, grade these corners, tell me what you think. All right, we're aligned on that. Okay, now look at the surface, look at the eye appeal. And it takes 3 to 4 months for them to get to that point where, the trainee's doing a card, handing it off to their trainer, and they're on the same page. And then after that, there's probably about 3 months of confidence building where they're on their own doing it. And in my experience in manufacturing, training a new person to a process, it really takes them about 6 months to really know a process inside and out and be really comfortable and confident in speaking to it. And so you probably have folks that, just got certified in the process and are going through some of these orders with $1,000, raw cards, and maybe a little nervous, or maybe they're still kind of learning. But again, with as fast as they've scaled up, sometimes you can't wait. You can't wait for 6 months. You either have to let them go and try it, or you got to cut bait and start over with finding someone new.
Sure. So let me ask you this. Would the recent, things happening and new people getting in the grading, would it deter you from sending off a Super Express or Express submission when it comes back? Would it make you like question, like, hey, do I really want to do this? Or would you just be like, I got to have confidence in my cards and what I think they are. And if they don't pan out, they don't pan out. I did what I could type of deal.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it depends on what the card is and what do you have into it. if this is a card that you bought for, let's say, $100, and you kind of set it on the shelf, had it in a box, and I'll get to grading it later. And now that raw card's gone from 100 to 500 in just raw value. And now you're looking at, all right, what is that $300 on top? And what's a 9 go for versus a 10? And by the way, football season's coming around. Let's say this is some Joe Burrow prism, to disco blue to 79. I think I got that on my shelf over there. But I'm having the same debate on.
Yeah.
That's different than, hey, I bought this card for 500, a PSA 10 sells for 900, and I'm going to roll the dice and hope that I can make $100.
Right.
It depends on what it is and the timing of the year.
That's a good point, because you can stomach more risk with something, but also keep in mind, at least myself, I've been trying to utilize it at least a little bit in like a short-term aspect. Like I buy this card for 500. I know if I put $300 more into it, I'm in for 800, 9 value, PSA 10 value, whatever. And, it provides at least some sort of short-term opportunity, although a risky opportunity at that, because I grade my Holland, it gets a 8 and I'm just down $400 or $500 in about 5 seconds. So like, definitely provides more risk, but I do like those comments as well.
You can always crack and resub.
What do you say?
You can always crack and resub.
Yeah, I can, but I already sold it. So I wasn't patient enough. And like the funny thing is if it wasn't $300 grading, I definitely would, even if it's like 150, just to like see, just experiment and see what happens. I'll contact the guy that bought from me and probably be like, hey, you ever grade it? What it get? And it's going to get 10. And be like, yeah, some dude that just got trained and got that card. I do want to kick it back really quick to this budget thing, because, you said that you foresee next year, early Q1 2022, with an ability to grade lower than $50, through them. Mm-hmm. Is there even going to be a path in the next 8 months that's not through PSA to grade any card like the one on the screen? Or is it at the point where you have to switch your game plan massively? Because like, think about SGC was like $30, $35 maybe to grade through them right now, or maybe a little bit less if you go through a group subber. Unless you're getting a 10, you're probably going to take a loss on that, right? Like, and a 10 would be small margins too on a card like this.
Yeah, those are ones that you're probably either better off holding and just waiting, see how the player develops, or see what the market does, or find an alternative route for that. You don't need to grade everything. And one of the things that I do with my card business, because it is a business for me, I have my personal collection on the side, is I have a plan for every card. So like if I have a $10 raw card or less, it goes to a dude that does consignment for me, and I just send it off to him. He runs his Twitter sales on it, and we split profits. And that's what I do with all my lower end cards. Otherwise, they just sit around, and then I have this dilemma of, do I grade them? Do I not? Do I wait? And then my wife gets mad because I got tens of thousands of cards taking up all the space in the house.
Right. I got you. All right. Toa, really quick. Slab Stocks Pro live now, and it's free. That is true. If you were on the pre-registration list, we did send out emails to everyone on the pre-registration list this weekend to access Slab Stocks Pro, create your account. If you were not pre-registered yet for Slab Stocks Pro, meaning you didn't get the link to access it, go to slabstocks.com, click the Slab Stocks Pro tab, scroll down, put in your email. We will be sending out another wave of invites this week at some point, so you will be able to get access yourself. Otherwise, we will be going fully live to the public. Anyone can get to the website, all that stuff, in the next couple weeks, we hope. So, but it is live right now, meaning you can use it if you just take the couple seconds to go pre-register on slabstocks.com. I say pre-register, but at this point, it's like register to get the link to sign up. So everyone go do that if you have not already. It is pretty awesome. There are a few caveats right now that we're working through, like going live to our pre-registration list gives us the opportunity to work through some of these, pre-launch things. Like there are a couple data gaps on some slabs here and there, but we're actively working on that as you all get to enjoy the site for free as well. All right, jumping into a new topic here. So that's enough hammering on what's going on with PSA. We are going to talk about briefly a few skill position players in the NFL that Dave wants to talk about. And I'm not a huge football guy myself. A lot of people know, I like football. I watch football, but I'm not a real huge football card buyer other than my Jonathan Taylors. I mean, how can I not? But Dave, talk to me about what's going on with the positional players going into the season this year. Are we going to see the same thing like last year where people go gonzo and buy up Michael Thomas to the moon, or are we going to see a little bit, lower, or do you have to make smarter plays? Is that the answer here?
Yeah, so I think you're going to see something, but it's not going to be the craziness of last year where every wide receiver that was a top 10 receiver took a step up, and every running back that was a top 10 takes a step up. I think it's going to be very specific. And one of the guys like Derrick Henry on the screen, I think he's been one of those guys. The reason being, and you can kind of see it on the graph, that probably aligns with when the Julio Jones trade happened. Derrick Henry, league leading rusher, rushed for over 2,000 yards last year. He now has one healthy, a top 5 receiver on the outside to pull and stretch that defense. And he also has a 17th game this year. And I think you'll probably see a lot of bets in Vegas on Derrick Henry breaking the all-time single season rushing record this year because of that Julio Jones addition and that 17th game where he can put up another 200 yards if they feed him the rock and he's close.
Yeah, I agree. And that sale that hit that all-time high there on that PSA 9 silver, that was right after the trade. I'd very much so assume that this is going to drop a bit over the next month or two. That was a huge hike within like a week that took. And I'd imagine that there might even be an auction closing lower, some buy it now is lower at this point. But that was the all-time sale that occurred for that PSA 9. This was from Slab Stocks Pro and is $294, which PSA 10s used to be probably like $10 for the card 2 years ago, which is so funny to think about. And I bring this up because I know Dave's got some other players to talk about, but I want to interject my own thoughts here and say this happened way too quickly last year. Okay, Michael Thomas, PSA 10, rookie base, jumped all the way over like $800 or something, like right when Deshaun Watson wasn't even $800. And I was like, what is going on? This card is literally $5.50, middle of the summer, 2019, 2018, whatever. And now it's over 800. Like that spike is one of the most ridiculous spikes I've seen in the card market. And there's been a lot of big spikes. I say that because I foresee this summer being different than last summer. I know a lot of people probably looked at last summer and try to like do like the, happens once, happens again type of thing. I can't foresee these positional players exploding like last summer. I guess this is more of like a personal awareness thing for myself. And you don't have to, I guess, listen to what I have to say, or this is my opinion. So don't think that I'm right or anything. I might not be, but I just don't want people to take advice from me, meaning spending money on a player like Michael Thomas, expecting to go back to 800. Now, who knows? Maybe it gets a little bump. I know Michael Thomas had a bad season last year. He's hurt and stuff. But talk to me about what you think with guys like CeeDee Lamb that you want to talk about going into the season. What's the foreseeable path for guys like that and buying now? And what can you expect? And maybe don't get their expectations too high because I don't want people to think that you're going to see that again.
So first off, August 2020, everything did that, right? Just shoot straight to the moon type of thing. And then came back down to reality. And as we know, October last year wasn't great for sports cards. Michael Thomas also last year was coming off being the best receiver in the league. Last year, couldn't stay healthy. Drew Brees is no longer in the league. So I don't expect Michael Thomas to do that same thing. One guy that I've been excited about in the offseason, and full disclosure, I do have some of his cards, PSA 9 silvers, is CeeDee Lamb. And that's because if you look at the first 6 games that he had with Dak Prescott, those dudes went off. Go look at the numbers. They're insane. And then Dak got hurt, things fell off. I think you could see if Dak stays healthy, something very similar. Or as people start getting ready for fantasy football, they start talking about CeeDee's first 6 games with Dak, CeeDee's first 6 game with Dak. And then that hype builds in July and August when people are doing their drafts. They're going to get the cards because it's like, I got this dude on my fantasy team. I want his rookie card. And you could see some spikes of a dude like that or some other young receivers in big markets. But again, every year it happens. There's a build up to the season starting. There's a sell-off. And unless dudes are putting up Hall of Fame numbers on the way to set a single season record or an undefeated season, there is a lot of volatility with position players. And there's a lot of risk with holding them through the season.
Yep. And I also think that you have to be aware enough to know if you're going to spend money in this, you got to have the plan. Like Dave said, he's got a plan for every card he has. You got to know that if you're going to spend money in this area. And it's the same thing with baseball. It's the same thing with basketball, same thing with soccer. I don't mean to say like, oh, everything else is bulletproof to this. It's not. You just have to be aware about what you're buying and what the trends are, the seasonal trends, this and that. Just know that going into it. I'm not here to tell you to don't buy positional players because I've got a fair amount of Jonathan Taylor that I'd say I bought not only for my collection, but as I think that they will be worth more in the future. Absolute stud. So I think you just got to play the game of positional players right and don't buy at the peak of Michael Thomas. Buy it before it or after when he's hurt and people aren't spending money on him anymore. I think
it also depends on if you're buying someone to collect them or if you're buying someone to invest. Because those are two very different things, and you need to take two very different approaches to them. Otherwise, you're gonna end up in a bad spot. And I think a lot of times people can't separate that for themselves, or they jump back, one way or the other too much. So you kind of got to self-reflect before you start buying some of these guys and go, if this goes down to nothing, am I still gonna be happy with the card?
Yeah, for sure. Ryan says, hey, we missed a year in Philly card show, and next year Slab Stocks needs to make it out. Is it once a year? Also, I did not know that show was like that big. Like I barely heard about it. And then this weekend I just saw everyone was at the Philly card show and I was not there. But Ryan, let me know some details and maybe. And then Magic said, I just realized this is Dave from the Breaks on Tuesdays. What's up, man? Yeah, Dave in the house. And for those wondering, where's Nate? Nate is currently making some food for some kids at a camp in northern Minnesota. So he is going to be around this week doing work, but he didn't make today's live stream because he's cooking dinner right now, I believe. So also almost severed his finger off his hand. So good start to the week for Nate.
He must be a good cook.
He actually is a good cook. I will not lie. He does go hard. All right, let's see what we got next. So many of you know that the National is coming this summer. If you do not know that the National is coming this summer, now you know, because it is the biggest card show in the world. I've been 4 so times to Cleveland, to Chicago. I've never went to Baltimore. I never went to Atlantic City because it was canceled last year. But it will be in Chicago, July 28th, August 1st. I implore all of you to find a way to get here however you can. I know that for some of you traveling and all the expenses and hotels and stuff just isn't feasible, but I do wish you were there. And for some of you, this might be very feasible because you might live in the Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois region, Midwest, that can make this thing very possible. And we are going to have a few discussion points on this. First off, get ready for much more information on the National from Slab Stocks in the very near future. We are planning some pretty big things. We will have a booth there, booth 695. We'll have it all 5 days. We had a booth 2 years ago. There was an absolute blast. I hope to see you all there. And we also are planning a very big night on Friday night. Ryan Card Collector 2's trade night is on Thursday night. I talked to him, made sure we weren't going to be on the same night. I put ours on Friday night. It'll be a Slab Stocks night, but more importantly, it'll be a Slab Stocks charity night, and we have a lot of information coming out on that. I really hope to see you there. I really hope to get some hands from all of you and blowing up this event and really put it on for the kids because it will benefit a kids charity, which is going to be amazing. So stay tuned for more information on that. I will have that in the following week or weeks, and I'm very excited about that. But we will transition this topic into Dave. So many people say, why always Chicago? Why always Cleveland? Which it won't be Cleveland anymore because that IX Convention Center shut down with COVID. And in my mind, why in the world are you putting in Atlantic City? No one wants to go there. Where the heck can we hope that the National will go other than Chicago? For me, I don't care because I love it in Chicago because it's an hour or so away from me. But for other people out there, where's even feasible?
Man, so personal bias, because those that follow my channel on Instagram know I'm a Minnesota guy. I would love to see it in Minneapolis. You've got a huge convention center. You've got tons of hotels. That we've hosted a Super Bowl. Amazing food in Minneapolis. I would love to see it end up there in the future. And it's only like half-hour drive. So that's my own personal bias. But I think having something in the center of the country is great. It makes it easier for folks to drive. No one's driving cross country. And it also is one of those things where you don't really have to worry too much about the weather. Sometimes that can be a factor on the coast. You get some hurricanes coming through, things like that. I think a lot of people would love to say they would love to see Vegas. Vegas, I think, probably has the same issue that Atlantic City does, where it's probably a great show to go buy stuff at because everyone's going to spend their money gambling and trying to sell their stuff at the table to recoup their costs. Not a great show for you as an individual to go sell at because probably won't be a lot of people buying. But I saw in the comments, someone said Denver. I love Denver. Denver's great. Major sports market, great craft beer, beautiful scenery, tons of great food. I don't know. The only downside to Denver, it's a long ways from the airport to downtown Denver. That can be a hindrance. You want an easy in, easy out, but they do have a light rail.
That definitely matters because I even know, like, when the Wisconsin Dell Show was going on, people who were traveling from out of state were like, "Oh, you're telling me that the Dell Show is an hour and a half away from the airport? You know, like, how am I supposed to get there if I don't rent a car? You know, shuttle, this and that." And it makes sense. You know, try and find a place that has an airport right by. I think a lot of people over the past few years has been like, "Why the heck is there never a national on the West Coast?" Dave, why is there never a national on the West Coast? Los Angeles, I know you said Vegas, Arizona, any place like that. Why?
So I think prior to 2 years ago, the biggest national ever was in Anaheim. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the late 90s, early 2000s, Anaheim hosted and was the biggest national ever until a couple of years ago in Chicago.
Pretty sure you're right about that.
Yeah. So there's history there. I think the problem with California and the West Coast is it's so expensive. And if you're a venue and you have the choice of, I can host a sports card show or I can go host a, I don't know, Ariana Grande concert that I know is going to sell out with 60,000 people in the arena or whatever, like they're probably going to lean towards the artist because it's going to generate more money for the venue. And that cost, I think, is a little bit tougher at times, especially in the summer.
I agree with that. And then Ziggy said, it's Chicago and AC for the next few years. Contracts are signed, and definitely true. This is more of a in the future thing. So, like, it is Chicago now. It'll be Atlantic City the year after. Unfortunately, I didn't want to go there this past year. So that's kind of, I wasn't happy there wasn't a national, but especially when they moved it to December, thinking about having to drive from Wisconsin to Atlantic City through whatever snow or winter conditions are, that sounded terrible. So kind of glad that didn't happen. But I wouldn't really, I wouldn't mind trying to go somewhere else other than Chicago. But Cleveland, I liked Cleveland. Dave, you've been to Cleveland, right? Like, I thought it was a great convention center, like kind of secluded. You get to go down the city if you want to. And I liked that a lot.
Yeah, that was my first national. And I remember walking in being like, oh my gosh, it's like stimulus overload. But yeah, it was good. And it wasn't too bad of a cab ride back down to downtown Cleveland where I was staying and stuff. So yeah, it wasn't a bad spot.
Yep. I agree with that. Just got something here from DJ Bone. I know someone asked earlier about SGC. I just got a bunch of Super Express that were for sure 9s and 10s and came back 8s, even had duplicates of the 8s that was in better shape than coming back as a 6. Thoughts on just sending to SGC now? Well, to me, it's like, well, you can maybe rationalize to yourself, like, oh, I'm going to go to a place I know, or at least I think I might be able to get the grades I'm expecting. Keep in mind, that won't help when you go to sell if you're not getting the value out of your cards you want. Now, I know that PSA 8s aren't going to get you the values you want either, but even if, at least you have that chance to get that 9 or 10 that will get you the value that you want. I know I've been pretty vocally against SGC for a long time, and I will say it does at least provide an option for people to grade right now that isn't $300, so that's a positive. I have heard that their turnaround times have been lightning quick, which is another positive. I'm not just going to not say there's no positives, but you really do need to do your research on any card you send to them, because there are definitely times where if you don't get an SGC 10, you will lose money even if you get a 9.5. That is just fact. I can do a bigger price analysis if people want to, but it would take me too long. And I think that a lot of you can do that research for yourself based on your given cards. If you can't make money on a 9.5, then great. That's even better, right? So I would just say that, be careful is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I think, DJ, some of that depends on what's your plan with that card. If you're looking for something that's a quick flip, that's going to be different than, well, I kind of want this for a couple of years out. Maybe I'm planning for the World Cup next year or the next round of Euros or something, since, if it's soccer related, and maybe you crack it, wait for a bulk, and you're okay with waiting for 2 years. Or if it's something you want to capitalize on this fall or get ready for basketball season next year, then maybe you crack them and wait for BGS to open back up. And that's your other option if you are no longer happy with PSA.
And Tyler's right. There is not much competition in the grading industry right now. Like, yes, there are places that are popping up and doing well, for themselves as companies. But in terms of like the actual, like, market values, there just isn't much competition.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with BGS suspending their services, which I wasn't really a huge fan of BGS recently either, for just their lack of innovation over the last 10 years now. That as well, hurts not having the big number 2 that people used to think that there was, and is still big number 2 when it comes to high-end cards. Like, you're going to find way more high-end cards in BGS slabs and SGC or others, and even more high-end cards from 2015 and previous in BGS slabs and PSA slabs. There's so many people out there who like to say all the LeBron exquisites are BGS, this and that. Well, that's because BGS was the biggest thing ever from 2016 or 17 and prior, or even 2018. 2018 is really when the switch started to happen. So, like, not a huge valid, like, BGS should be better because of this. It's just like that was what it was. Just like now, how you're going to find more, Prism Blues on 199. Maybe Luca's with great with PSA than with BGS, and the pop counts and the base are going to be way higher with PSA than BGS, all that stuff. It all kind of switches with the how the market's trending and whatnot. And for Bodie here, would you sell a Luca Prism base PSA 10 and buy a select premier level PSA 10 for the lower pop count? Well, I do like the thought of that. I would suggest selling the Prism base PSA 10, going and buying the best numbered PSA 9 Luca you can. At a certain point, for me, it's like, I would just rather have a lower grade with a card I know has a set print run. Like I'm at that point, and I think that's the only way to, because like I can guarantee you there's gonna be more select premier level PSA, PSA 10s graded and stuff. I can't tell you that there's gonna be more Red Zav 175 die cuts made ever.
Right.
And that might be more expensive than a Prism base 2 at this point, but you get the point.
Right. Especially since how expensive 2018 wax is. Like, there's only so many more that people are actually going to open and send in.
I agree for sure. New York City wouldn't be a bad place for the National either. I think that the biggest problem in New York City is that it would be so expensive for any family to make the trip, for any individual that's not making enough money to make the trip. Like, gosh, I went to New York City that one time to meet with Gary Vee and Nate and I, the taxis in, like, geez, that's the most money I've spent on a taxi in my life. Like $80 on a taxi, $80 on an Uber. I got a bagel, egg, and cheese for $20. Like, you go places and you just can't not spend 5 times what you would in the Midwest or something, like, and that's the only reason why I think it shouldn't be there.
Yeah, the coasts are expensive, man. I mean, they really are. They're either expensive or unpredictable in terms of weather and whatnot.
I totally agree. All right, tomorrow, Tuesday, 3 p.m. Well, actually, just kidding, not 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to push back the start of tomorrow's breaks to 4 p.m. Eastern time because of, well, maybe 5 p.m. Eastern time. I'll let you all know on Instagram. But the fact is that France and Germany play in the biggest match day 1 matchup of the Euros, or the Euro. It's a huge game, and there's no way I'm going to start the breaks when the match is starting. So that being said, we do have 3 breaks left on slabstocks.com/shop. And if you are lucky enough, you will see that tomorrow we will be posting the new 2020-2021 Top Scrum Champions League packs. Let's get some huge rookies. There's a massive loaded rookie checklist, tons of rookies. And I'm pretty excited to start to open that product tomorrow. So we'll do some live sales of that in the stream tomorrow. So I do hope to see you all there. To end off today's stream, we've got, 20 or so minutes. Throw in some questions in the chat. We'll just start ripping them as y'all put them in. I know some have already came in, so just continue that, and we'll see anything about the market. Dave and I can chop it up, and we'll see what comes out of it. And also you all too in the chat, throw in your thoughts, because we are curious as to what you have to say too, and it'll help others learn. All right, I have a certified purple PSA 9 of Luca, better than base Prism. I'm not going to lie. I know that's what certified is, but I have no idea if purple's numbered or if it's not. I imagine it's not because they didn't say it's numbered. So it's tough because on one hand, there's definitely less certified purples than Prism base. I don't even need to know how big the pop is or anything. I just know for a fact that there's less. On the other hand, I don't know many people that covet certified regardless of what the type of card is, unless it's like, a gold mirror or a blue mirror of Luca. I'm sure people are buying up the blue mirrors of 199, whatever they're numbered of, because of that color match. Dave, like, where does the line stop with you with like getting a more rare card to like, give on the brand side of things?
So again, it depends on what's your plan. What are you doing? Are you collecting or are you investing? Like, if you're collecting, and you want the certified because you like the picture better or whatever, or the color, like, cool, do it. But if you're looking from a business standpoint, your base prism is going to be more liquid every day. There's going to be more people out there that want the premium products and that can afford it than certified. Now you're going to have Luka diehard collectors that you can sell it to, the certified for sure. But your pool of eligible buyers is a lot less.
So Midwest Ripper has confirmed it is numbered out 49. So yes, I definitely take the Luka purple off 49 PSA 9 before the Prism base, and this is why we do a weekly live stream on Loop the app. It's a breaking app. Go check it out in the App Store and Android. Great guys over there. And my discussion last week was about moving the needle, as I call it. It takes a lot less to move the needle on a card number at 49 than it does the infinite amount of base Prism PSA 10s that are going to get auctioned off on eBay. Because you can point to this Luka, this purple off 49, that someone comes to you and wants to buy it, and the chances of there being a set comp in the last 2 months is low. I mean, especially on that certain grade. And it takes a lot less to move the needle on a card like that where there's no sales history. People buy what they think is right or pay what they think is right. If they had a recent experience with the Lukaku Immaculate Gold out of 10 PSA 9, I sold it right before the Euro started. I knew he was going to be amazing. I was going to hold it for the Euro and watch him just ball out with Belgium, and he already scored 2 goals in the first game. But I sold it for 800 and I bought it for 300 a month ago in Dallas. And my whole theory was like, this card's numbered out of 10. All it takes is one person to walk up and say, I want that bad enough to pay close to my asking price, which was 1,000. And I got it. And like, you know, I can't complain with that. So like, in my opinion, it's very hard to move the needle on Prism-based PSA 10. You need a massive demand wave. You need the player to do legendary things that switches his legacy, which can happen. I'm not saying it won't happen, but like it takes a lot more.
Yeah, I would definitely, knowing that the purple's the 49, I would definitely take that over the base Prism. And if you don't want to keep it long term, then use that as a chip and use that as a selling point of, hey, you may never see another one of these walk up to your table at a show. So take mine and this other thing for that card over there that I want.
Yeah, I totally agree. 24/7 sports cards. This will be my first national. What type of money will be in the room? Is this a show where I should bring my high-end stuff, 40K plus? I'd say definitely. Was massive cards in Dallas, and there will be even more people at the National, even more high-end cards at the National, which means even more security at the National. So make sure y'all are acting in good faith. The last thing I want to see is something go wrong. But the point is that there will definitely be people with huge amounts of money, with huge cards that are willing to trade for cards if they want your card. Obviously, you can't force someone to trade you for your card. But if there's, if you got the good stuff, you got the good stuff. And I'm definitely going to be probably not that high, but I'll be looking to do some cool trades and whatnot. And I know a lot of other people are too. So this is not the show to say like, oh, a different show is better. I'll save it for that show. You bring out the big guns if you want to play with the big guns.
I would bring your high-end stuff if you're looking to trade or trade up. If you have $40,000+ cards and you've got 3, 4, 5 of them and you want to get one card that can buy you a house, bring that to trade up. I would be a little cautious though, in terms of if your plan is to go sell it. Yeah. From the standpoint of not everybody's going to have 50K in cash. If they do, make sure you bring a pen so that those hundos are real. And then you also have to worry about someone, buying it from you and then calling their credit card company saying fraud charge, right? Not saying that's always going to happen, but there's just more risk versus if you bring that card that you want to sell to a consignment house like PWCC. I'm not plugging them. I have no relationship with them. Just first one off the top of my head. But with PWCC or something, they're going to vet those buyers in their high-end auctions, and you're going to get paid. And
I 100% agree with what Dave said. When I said that, it was more about the trading aspect because there will be a lot of changing of cards and trading up, trading down. Like for me, like recently I've traded down at 2 of my biggest pieces, my Ronaldo patch auto, my Messi auto. I traded down in both of them because I want to get more flexibility with selling prospects and, more liquidity, this and that, and whatever the reasons were. But definitely if you're going the selling route, like I'd be hard pressed to believe you'll find a big buying pool that are going to either wire you 40K in person or give you cash in person, that type of thing. Like get ready to trade and maybe not to sell. And like Dave said, I will plug PWCC. I will say go to PWCC to sell them. Dave might not, but I will. And that would be the best option through the vault or the premier auction. Okay, let's see here. Thoughts on LaMelo Ball Prism PSA 10? It's the highest Prism-based rookie in the last few years. 100% a sell. However you slice it up, he might have the best start of the season ever this past next year. And it might go up in price because there's not enough graded by PSA. But the point is inevitably, a lot of these will get graded no matter where it is. It won't matter if it's through SGC, HGA, CSG, BGS, PSA. It doesn't matter. There is probably the most base rookies ever printed in 2020. And it's a sell all day for me. I don't even care who the player is. If this was freaking Michael Jordan, I'd say it's a sell for all I care. The base Prism PSA 10, that is.
Sell it now, because as soon as PSA opens back up on July 1st with a $150 card, people are flooding this in. Because I think PSA shut down right when Prism released, said we're not doing anymore. So there's people that have stacks that are waiting to send them in because they know, all right, even if 10% of them get 10s, I'm going to make bank on those because the pop is still low. 9s are still going to have a premium to them, and 8s maybe a break even at the 150 point. So sell them now. Hopefully he wins Rookie of the Year for you and capitalize and move that money into something else, or hold it. And in August, September, when there's not a ton of basketball hype, see if you can get a better LaMelo.
Yep, I agree. Do you think the good investment is going to be the one-of-ones, SSP cards, etc.? 1,000%. Now, I know that this is like a small percentage of people that can buy these things, especially given the players. But if you have the money, this is what I always like to preface it with this. If you have the money and you're stacking like 50 or 500 base PSA 10s of whatever player it is, please just don't do that and go buy yourself a one-of-one in SSP, numbered out of 10, a 5, whatever it is. Like, there's zero chance that I was about to stack up Mason Mountain slabs of base Prism into my ceiling instead of having the one-of-one Papadasha Sapphire. That would never happen in my life. And I've always, you can go check my page, back to multiple years ago. I've always been quality over quantity. And like I said, I know not everyone can do that. So I don't want to make it seem like that you can't buy cards if you can't buy one-of-ones or super short prints or blues out of 199, whatever it is. We're always about making sports cards accessible to everyone. This is directed at people who can afford those types of things and can play in that higher end game. Do yourself a favor. We've talked about this a lot in the past 6 months now, actually, or even, 4 or 5 months, because we did that 6-month market forecast back when we were forecasting up to the national. And I said on there, I said, if you have a bunch of base PSA 10s, PSA 9s, please be prepared to sell it because the flood of submissions is going to be outrageous. So I hope that y'all watched it. If you did, congrats. If you didn't, I'm glad you're here now to hear it. Definitely buy cards that people want forever. Don't buy cards that people want to flip.
And if you're going to color up, right, you're going to sell your $30,000 worth of singles to buy one $30,000 card, you need the patience too.
Yes.
Because if you're putting all your eggs in one basket and that dude has a nagging hamstring injury all year, you may have to wait another year before that value peaks. Or there's not a lot of people with 30 grand in cash to go buy cards, right? So you may have to wait for that right buyer to come around, or send it to PWCC or something, get more eyes on it.
Sure. So there's a lot of that's a great point, because there is a lot of work that sometimes goes into selling these things. Like, it can be very rewarding, but it also can be very tedious. And if you're not willing to be patient, see things through, then it gets a little bit more challenging. If you want to go and instead of buying, one big 20, 30K card, you want to buy, 10, 15, whatever the amount of money it is to kind of get in that $1,000 to $3,000 range. And so it's a little bit more liquid, then that could be your play too. But I guess my biggest point is if you have the ability to sell base PSA 10s and 9s and get into that higher range cards, do it. If you make the right call on the right player, it will pan out way better for you. Now, keep in mind, though, you do lose flexibility because you can't just hold one card of one guy, or you can't be flexible in the fact that if you still want to hold the card, you can't. You got to sell it, then you have nothing of him. So, that happened to me with my LeBron Refractor 9.5. It's when I sell, I'm done, buy LeBron, type of thing. But, so just keep in mind that is a thing, too. All right. I have a raw downers to abuse Christian Pulisic. Thoughts? It might be graded, it might not be graded. Either way, I think what happens here is yes, we talk about base PSA 10s, base PSA 9s, and I say do this, do that. But I think the biggest thing is that you also need to understand production levels and how they change over time. I think right now, a lot of stuff rose really fast and a lot of stuff is getting hit really hard that just has the word base in it. But I don't think all base cards are the same. I think a lot of people who might be newer, like see the word base and automatically think, oh, Kevin Durant base, that card stinks, right? Like I'm not saying that. The Kevin Durant Topps Chrome card is tough to pull. It is a legendary card and it'll be sought after in the future. A 2019 Tyler Hero Prism base where there's like, hundreds of thousands of them, not as much, so like there's definitely different ranges of base. And I like to think that soccer from 2018 and previous is in that range of base cards can be good. There's not like an insane amount of them to the point to where like if someone wants a card of the top brand and they can't go and shell out for the gold sparkle of the Downers debuts, which is an amazing card. But the other thing is that the production was so low on these sets that the parallels, there were like none of them for each given set to where the base has to be desirable because people can't always afford the blue Mbappe or the purple Mbappe. They can go buy the Topps Chrome base Mbappe, which I think kind of correlates to the LeBron aspect, like understanding which sets have low production runs, understanding which sets have high production runs, and making plays accordingly. So, and all of that being said, I do like that given card for the fact that there isn't a million of them out there.
Yep, and the nice thing is you can wait for economy to open back up when it's $50 a card and get it graded and still have it back before the World Cup next year.
Yeah, I totally agree. Here's a good one. Long-term and hold as an investment, Kobe or Tom Brady?
So I have a thought on this.
You go, man. You go.
I love Tom Brady. I always have. I had to give up a really big Tom Brady card in a trade down in Texas. I'll share that with you guys some other time. But I think when you look at Kobe, iconic, people say one of the best ever, but he's unfortunately already passed. He's already in the Hall. Other than people that are kids that watched him grow up and now have money and say, I want Kobe, there's not going to be a lot to move his market. It may just be a steady thing over time. Whereas Tom Brady's going to play. He said he wants to play to those mid-40s. He's probably going to win the Super Bowl this year. And he's going to keep adding to his record books. And then he's going to have a Hall of Fame enshrinement in 5 years. And then somewhere down the line, he will pass away. And it's a morbid thing to bring up, but it always happens with every major athlete, every superstar. When they do pass, you do see a bump in value, right or wrong. So if a long-term hold, I think you will see bigger jumps in Tom Brady, whereas Kobe will probably do a more slight, steady climb.
It sounds like what Dave's trying to say is that there's more events possible to move the needle. And right. That's how I like to think of like soccer, like why I was so bullish on it as of 2 years ago is like, dang, there's a lot of events. I don't care if it's a Champions League. I don't care if it's a World Cup, the Euro, even the World Cup qualifiers, whatever it is. There's just a lot of games being played and a lot of opportunity for players to play well, which is why I'm not as bullish on football, because if you aren't the best team that year, if you're not leading a great team as a quarterback, you are toast. Like we've seen it with a lot of these young quarterbacks that people have high expectations with and they don't pan out, you're toast. Like that was your shot and it's done until next year. So while football can be great because if they are amazing, it can be amazing. It can also be the other end of the spectrum. There's a couple good ones here really quick. Do you guys only invest in sports? Thoughts on Star Wars and Marvel cards? Dave loves Marvel cards. Dave, go for maybe like a minute on Marvel.
So Marvel's great. If you guys go check out my channel, I actually did a kind of a podcast style episode on this back in like January about Marvel and the potential it has. But I mean, Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios has everything planned out for the next 10 years. So there's gonna be constant content coming out, whether it be TVs or movies. You're starting to see more products come out. You have some of the iconic insert sets from the 90s, like Precious Metal Gems, Jambalayas, things like that were in 2013 Fleer Retro, the 2015 and as well. Star Wars, going back to the events piece, I don't think there's as many Star Wars events. And I think the last trilogy kind of ruined Star Wars for a lot of people. And unless you're one of those diehard original guys or someone that grew up with Star Wars, it's going to take a lot for Star Wars to climb back up in the younger generation's good graces that have already had 10 years of successful Marvel.
Not to mention, I have not seen that many cool Star Wars sets recently. I've seen a lot of cool Marvel cards recently, and I think that Topps needs to figure it out and put out some really dope Star Wars sets. I don't care if you Sapphire everything. Make a Sapphire Topps Chrome Star Wars set. I literally don't care. Like, I get a Panini for like, drilling mosaic into every single opportunity they can, but like, I don't care. Make a Star Wars Sapphire set, and I will buy at least one card from that set.
And there's an X-Men metal set coming out at some point this year. It was supposed to come out in January, but that will be bringing PMGs back, and it'll go back to the original numbering that basketball had, where the first 10 were green, and then the rest were red. So there won't be any blues like you have in some of the other Marvel sets.
That's sick for sure. Funny that this was asked, because Dave actually brought this to me as a message topic for today. Topps Chrome Champions League Blasters, thoughts on that? We'll give like 30 seconds each here. Big, not a fan. Now, I am a fan for one reason, because it expands the soccer chrome market. It gets more product in more people's hands. But we all know the difficulties right now with getting product into people's hands who we want to have it in their hands, or at least collectors that can enjoy it, expand the market, actually care about it, learn through it. That's how I learned everything I knew about football when I was a kid, was by collecting cards. I knew so many players more than my friends because I had so many football cards. I'm like, I know this guy, this guy, this guy. And then you get into fantasy football. But to me, it really hurts the non-numbered market in Topps Chrome Champions League. There's going to be so many base cards this year. Musiala base are going to be like $10, $15 because there's going to be so many base cards. That's just what's going to be. It hurts the single market on those cards out of hobby boxes, the base, the refractors, the non-numbered. But I also think that it strengthens the numbered cards in turn too from hobby.
And I think what it actually hurts the worst is guys like Bellingham and Mokoku, who've got base cards in both Bundesliga and Champions League. And now there's even more of their Champions League base, which already had a higher print run. Yeah. So I would, if you find those blasters and you pull those rookies, I would sell them and go buy the Bundesliga if they have a Bundesliga rookie, because much lower print to run. Not
right. Really. And honestly, well, I'm a fan of the set for the checklist, and I really like the guys like Musiala and Pedri and these other players that didn't have Bundesliga rookies. Like Bellingham and Mokoku out of the set, I really don't care at all about from Topps Chrome Champions League. I know that Champions League is generally like the more sought after set, but we've seen with Erling Haaland, the Bundesliga is bigger because that was what came first, lower print run. I look at this Topps Chrome Champions League card of Mokoku and Bellingham, and I say, how could you pick this photography? And then I look at the Bundesliga set, and I say, is the same guy picking the photography for both sets? Because one looks like great, one looks very clear, one looks very zoomed in. The Champions League sets look like it was shot with like a flip phone, like Motorola, like Razor or something, or like whatever. Like, I don't know what happened there, but if you are investing in Bellingham and Mokoku, I would say put your money into the Bundesliga set, like Dave said. Much better option. Now, keep in mind, though, there are a lot of manufacturing errors with these cards that are now getting produced by Topps. This could be a whole nother topic. We could go for forever, but I don't know why Topps decided to switch their manufacturing plan for Formula One, Topps Chrome, Champions League, Bundesliga, all this stuff, because like all the color in some sense has some type of edge market. If you get a 9 or 10, that stuff is going to be extremely high priced, which could be good too. Like there's pros and cons to everything. You get a good card, you have way more value out of it.
Right.
So,
right.
Ziggy, I want to point this out. Enjoying Slab Stocks Pro too. I'm really glad you're on the pre-registration list. Thank you. Any tutorials coming 100%. We'll be doing tutorials in each segment of the website. We'll start to drip those out to the pre-registration list over the next week or so via like an unlisted YouTube video, and then we'll be putting those live in a playlist for when we fully go live. So get ready for that. We will be breaking down the usability of the website and the best way to use it too. So I do appreciate you asking that. Okay, let's see if we got like one more here, and then we're going to be at a nice hour.
Cool.
This is a good question. At what point does rarity of a card outweigh the grade? Go ahead, Dave.
At the point you decide it does, because like I said earlier, you need a plan for every card. Is this something that you're collecting? Is this something that you're trying to make money off of? Is this a quick flip? Is this something that you're going to sit and hold for 3 years? So you need to decide that based off of either how your collection is built or how your business is built, if you're buying and selling. So that's not for me to answer. That's for you to answer personally.
Yeah, I agree with that. To me, like there is no rule of thumb, but I was okay with taking a couple of really nice, rare Mbappe rookies that were PSA 8s. That's my point. Is like I was okay with getting PSA 8s in that because I think that the rarity matters a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You want to do some like rapid fire, like we just give 2-word answers to some stuff?
Yeah, if you see one, pull it out and say something.
Okay. I don't know how to pull it up, but there we go. Chronicles footballs or select? Chronicles. Nice
Select in years prior, Chronicles this year. I can't believe how many whack cards they made in Select this year. Is Star Wars ruined by Disney?
Yes.
Oh, that is a big answer. Wow. They are definitely marketing it very high without adding much value, I think, to that new series, which kind of was tough. Answering baseball questions. Yes, if you have one, type it in really quick and we'll try to get to it. I am not Nate, but Dave. Oh, here we go. Adley Rushman.
Yes, but I believe he's the first baseman, so sell upon call up and don't hold long term.
He was a catcher. I don't know if he transitioned. I don't follow close enough, but he was a catcher for.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think him and Torkelson mixed up. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a catcher, but same rule applies though. It's still a less sought after position. Honestly, let me just scroll back really quick. There was some other ones. Here we go. Slabs Fox is a PSA 9 Topps Chrome LeBron 04 a good cop. Yes, it falls in a thing I think that dropped too quickly because people started to hear base a lot got graded, but I think it's a dope card. I think that it's a nice print run on that. Women's soccer, good investment. Dave, yes or no?
Yeah. I mean, you got Olympics coming up. There's a ton of attention just on national team soccer in general. And their World Cup is in 2024, I think. So yeah, you have some opportunities.
Dave, this is going to be a yes or no, although I know you could take another hour to talk about this. Do you guys think there should be a federally regulated central body to govern the sports card hobby? There's a lot of ambiguity in the hobby in terms to pricing, grading, I'm sure breaking, selling, everything. Just yes or no?
No. You're going to see that with the IRS. That's my guess.
Here we go. Do you think Zion cards are overvalued right now compared to Embiid? His stuff was around the same.
No, but I would wait till September, August to buy if you're holding for next year.
Yep. Who do you think is the best investment for NFL this year? Give a quarterback and give a position player that you already talked about.
All right. Brady, for reasons I touched on, and CeeDee Lamb.
For reasons he touched on.
Yes. Go back and watch.
Best soccer investment pickups in relation to the Euro. Low key, the fact you buy Romelu Lukaku 2015 select like Blues for $30-$40, that makes no sense to me. So that's my choice. I don't own any. I did buy a base select at the card show in Oak Creek for $1, but I don't own any other Lukaku, so it's not like I'm trying to hype it up. I don't get how. It doesn't make sense. He's a stud. Absolute stud. Dave, Prism Green, yes or no? Buy or no? Yes, I agree because it's the only retail parallel that's lasted since 2012. And I don't think enough people have wrapped their mind around that yet. And I think with time and education, I think it'll happen. Are you guys going to be at Dallas in July? I do not know this second, but I think potentially. Dave, will you be at Dallas in July?
Nope, saving everything for the National.
So that's where I'm at too. We don't know yet. Aaron, thoughts on Musiala? Very good. I like him. I actually joined my first break in like a few years, which is funny because I'm here ripping breaks all the time. But I like knowing what I'm getting, which is also funny because we do random team. I bought a Musiala spot because I just really like Musiala. I want to see the cards, and I actually hit his yellow mini diamond in 4 boxes, number at 299 rookie. So I like it. Do you think die cuts ever get hot? Yes or no?
PSA 10s do. They're tough grades, super tough.
It depends on the card, in my opinion. The new select die cuts, no. Older die cuts, yes. As long as they're good sets. I actually think that's it, unless there was another question tossed in here at the very bottom.
Do you think soccer is still undervalued?
Me, yes. I think it depends on what you're buying, but I think overall, yes. Like you no matter what's undervalued or overvalued in the hobby, you have to be cognizant about what you're buying. It's just not the thing in general. I think that's the most important part.
I'd agree. I think men's national team cards are undervalued. They'll go down and then have a nice jump next summer as people prep for World Cup in the fall.
Rubicon is totally on you about Brady cheating.
Send me a message on Instagram. We can chat.
At Dave's Card 32. You heard him. Why is Vlad not talked about enough on Sports Card Podcast? The guy's next level and will take over the MLB in the coming years. I know that Nate did a 35, 40-minute podcast on Vlad Jr. alone. So I know at least on our podcast, he's talked about it a lot. I don't know about other people's podcasts, but go look up Slab Stocks Vlad Jr. or something. I'm sure you'll find the video. Nate loves Vlad. Soccer stickers worth investing in? Not for me, but I can see why people buy them. I think that the modern ones, like 2018 and till now, I think there's so many made. Like you can get tons of these things, and once the population starts to go up, I'm not a huge fan. But I like scarcity. I like cards. That's who I am.
If you're willing to sell international and deal with selling on eBay internationally, then you have a market. If you're only selling in the U.S., like I only sell in the U.S., you can probably put it elsewhere.
Yeah. Dave, when do you start selling football cards? Like if you have Kyler Murray, when are you selling?
Hopefully I've bought a strategy where I've got doubles of everything, sell one in August when things are good. And then if I believe in him, sell during the season or after a 4 TD game. But football's tough. You have to have your stuff listed or ending on Sundays and hope they have a good game. Do your homework because people forget about things during the week.
Yeah, you got to be ready too. You can't be like, oh wait, do I have that card? You got to know what you're doing.
Yep.
Global Sports Card Investor, thank you. Really appreciate that. It's great to have Slab Stocks Pro up. And totally right. International stickers are huge, no doubt about it. They, soccer cards started internationally and they were stickers and they're going to be here for a long time. Just for me, when it comes to the investment, I like scarcity. And stickers just don't do it for me unless they're rare, like vintage ones or, high grade Mbappe stickers type of deal. Let's see here. Harry Giles long term. I don't think I'm putting my money into Harry Giles at all. Dave? Nah. With the direction PSA is taking and pricing, is the registry even relevant any longer for those hobbyists? I don't know enough about the registry, so why don't you comment? I think you probably do.
Yeah, I think it is for the true collectors because the true collectors have been collecting for the last 20, 30, 40 years, and they will for the next 20, 30, 40 years. And they're building their set registry to be that super collector. So.
Do you earn points? Do you earn points if you're ranking at the top for a certain set, or what do you earn?
So I don't know a ton about it. A good person to go talk to would be Nolan at Elite Co 3. He's got a Griffey registry and a Manny Ramirez registry. He puts out awesome videos. But I think you get plaques and stuff if you hit certain milestones and whatnot.
Yeah, cool recognition stuff. All right, last one here. What do y'all think about Tua cards? Went to show yesterday. Everyone was looking to buy his.
I think people were very down on Tua at the end of last year. The Dolphins have added some weapons, both on offense and defense, but ultimately the Bills are winning that division. And Tua has yet to prove that he can stay healthy. I think he's a good buy, but I would not hold into the season. And then I would probably rebuy next year in February timeframe before free agency starts.
Yeah, that's actually one of the biggest things about cards is just as much as talent, you got to stay healthy. Otherwise, people don't want your cards.
Right.
Justin Bieber, rookie, fire or trash? Trash.
I'll admit, I tried to figure out where those came from and how to find them. And you can't find any sealed boxes anywhere on the internet unless you go to the dark web. So
I think it was a Panini site or something, or Panini product or something like that. Very odd stuff. Dennis Rodman, best rebounder of all time. I was too young, didn't watch him play. I saw The Last Dance, so I can't really comment myself. Dave, do you know?
Shaq.
There you go.
I love him.
Do we see a bump in Mbappe cards if he has a great game tomorrow? I mean, I think so. I don't know how big of a bump. It depends on how rare your card is too. And like I said, what moves the needle? What gets someone to hit a buy it now? Is it your card's rare enough, or do you have to get that comp to move up in price to get people to buy it?
I think you see a slow jump, and I think he needs a big game on a weekend with max eyes watching to see a large jump.
Yep, I agree. Thank you, Rob. Great show. And thanks for the section. Oh, you missed the section about the National? Well, just rewind it and then you can see it. All good. Top players to pick up on U.S. men's national team. Obvious one, Christian Pulisic, captain. Weston McKennie, I think, is very nice. Then you got a slew of other players like Serginho Dest, like Brendan Aronson, who's going to be coming off the bench. Caden Clark, who in the future will be on that team. And then there's guys like Tyler Adams and, many others who I probably didn't. Josh Sargent's a striker, stuff like that.
Yeah, Sargent as a striker, you're getting goals. And sounds like Adam is getting some Premier League interest at the moment. So he may be a good buy now, sell it, wait for hype to die down, and rebuy.
I heard about that too. I think the Adam stuff has really dropped a lot with him not playing in that CONCACAF Nations League final, and also just with sight out of mind right now. So if you can find some of that Bundesliga tops Chrome like for cheap, why not? See what happens. All right, we are going to shut her down with the last thing from Serious Collector. Thanks for the insight. Great show. I'm happy to be a subscriber and follower of everything you do. Well, Serious, we are glad that you are serious, not only about collecting, but about slab stocks. So thank you, everyone, so much for watching today's show. Dave, thank you for joining me. Follow Dave at Dave's Cards on Instagram, at Dave's Cards 32 on Instagram. Really appreciate your insight and your time today with Nate being absent.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Absolutely. Last thing is to go to slabstocks.com, hit the Slab Stocks Pro tab, scroll down the page, and put in your emails. You will get an invite via email to join the website. Now it is live, it is active, and we'd love to have you on board. All right. Thank you, Dave. See you, everyone.